Hello and welcome to the 98th episode of the Not Your Mama's Gamer podcast, a podcast where we talk about games and gaming from a feminist perspective. My name is Samantha Blackman, and I'm associate professor here at Purdue University in wonderful West Lafayette, Indiana, where I talk about, read about, write about, dream about, amongst other things, video games, video games, and video games. I am joined tonight by my usual group of podcasting buddies as well as a special guest. Philippe Maynard. Is it Maynard? Please say yes.
It's very accurate for an American. Thank you very much.
Oh,
To be
wow. For American.
For an American,
here.
yeah.
For Americans, come on. You can call me Phil. It's a lot easier.
Okay. So, and Phil is going to, Phil's from Ubisoft Montreal. That's why he's teasing us about being Americans. That's okay. We tease ourselves about being Americans.
Especially right now. I would quibble with wonderful West Lafayette, Indiana, but
Well, yes,
neither
we
here
are
nor
in
there.
Indiana where they're passing all kinds of hateful legislation, but that's a whole nother story. And Phil is talking to us tonight about depression and mental illness in gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amongst some other fun stuff.
And it's not going to be downer or dull. We'll make it fun and happy.
Yay! Okay, so we'll do our usual, and we'll start with the fun stuff, which is what you're playing, what you're reading, what you're drinking. And then we'll have quick news, and then we'll get into talking to Phil more in depth and do a more in-depth intro at that point. So, and Phil, since you're a guest, we're going to ask you to go first. What are you playing?
Video game wise, I've been playing Tales of Borderlands this week. I finished episode 1 last week, and I started up with episode 2, and I love this game.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played a lot of the Telltale games yet. I started Walking Dead, and really those choices completely killed me. So I wasn't so sure it would be the same kind of approach to Tales of the Borderlands, and they're not. There's just a different approach to it, and I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to do the thing where I say, oh, did you see the part where that guy from that other game says that thing? So, no, I really like that. I'm in between projects at Ubisoft, and when that happens, they let you play video games on Steam. So I picked up Half-Life 2 Episode 2 again. I really want to finish that game. It's been years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also playing this game both on iPad and on my Steam account called Sentinels of the Multiverse. It's an adaptation of a board game where you play It's a card game where you play superheroes fighting villains in a specific environment, and all of those are randomly selected, and it's pretty cool.
That's cool.
There was a Steam sale last week for Sega, and I bought a game called, I think it's Valkyria Chronicles. It's a GRPG.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. So those are all the video games I've been playing that are worth mentioning. I played a bunch of roguelikes too, and I think it'd be too long to name them all. I really like playing video games.
Oh, cool.
Well, you're in the right place, man.
Yeah, you are.
On all levels.
I was
and-
gonna say,
and-
we don't like video games.
Yeah, and my girlfriend and I also finished Borderlands 2 last week. And that was an awesome 20 or 30 hours well spent.
Nice. So you said those are the video games you're playing. Are you a big? You were playing D&D tabletop. Are you a big board gamer too? Or?
I've been playing and running D&D games for the last 32 years or so, and I have a is it like every 2 weeks? Is that bi-weekly? No, right?
Yes, it's bi-weekly.
Yes, okay, so I have a bi-weekly group that's made up of players that some of them have been playing with me for the last 30 years. I've got friends that I made later, and my 13-year-old son joined us not so long ago. So it's a very eclectic group, whose age spread is 40 years. So it's really interesting, and it's really rich, and the group really gels together. So we're having lots of fun with that.
Man, it's so much fun to be able to share your nerddom with your kids.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
Best. I love it.
It's really cool. It's like so my son Nico is really much the video game nerd, whereas my daughter Rory is a foodie, and she loves to cook, which I also love to do. So we shared all those passions in parallel.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because Alicia and I both have kids, and we have very nerdy kids. I have a 6-year-old daughter, who loves JRPGs, Doctor Who, board games,
Mm-hmm.
and not your Monopoly Game of Life kind of board games, but real board games. Um, and then after she plays these things, she's going to be a LARPer apparently, because when our kids get together, we just bring out buckets of costumes and they dress and
Mm-hmm.
fight everything and everyone.
That's
So yeah.
awesome.
And my son just turned 7, and you better hurry up on your playthrough of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 because he's beaten all of them.
Fine.
So you're getting shown up right now.
Yeah, totally.
He's like a little prodigy.
Yeah,
He
but
can
he
play
doesn't have 8
anything.
years of experience playing them. Think about that.
No, that's true. That's true. Not yet. Give him time. When he's 15.
Awesome.
Yep. Awesome. So I guess I'll go next. I have to peek and look because I can't remember what I played. Well, I know. More Destiny. Always more Destiny. Tales of Borderlands Episode 2. And it had been a while since Episode 1 came out, so when Episode 2 came out, I started to play and I was like, now I remember. This game is so fucking funny. So I've really been enjoying playing that. So I played Episode 2 last week. Life is Strange Episode 2. I played and have been living, eating, breathing, drinking thanks to Alicia for the last couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't go anywhere without a game. I always carry some kind of handheld system with me as well as my phone. But that doesn't count because that's a phone. But I've been playing Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask whenever I can. And then was it last week? Last week when it came out, we got Mario Party 10. It was week before last because we were gone most of last week. But yeah, we got Mario Party 10. So we were playing Mario Party 10, and my mother, who I think probably has played more video games since my daughter's been born than she's played in her entire life, was visiting. So we played lots of Mario Party 10. And it was a whole lot of fun. My mother did it under duress, of course, but she can't say no to her granddaughter, so hey.
There you go.
And that's what I played.
Cool.
Let's see. Ashley, are you there, darling?
I'm here. I am playing To the Moon. I started playing that thanks to Sam, and I also finished Episode 2 of Life is Strange, and I haven't really been playing anything else because I'm down in New Orleans this week, so that is fun and exciting.
And what are you doing in New Orleans?
I presented today at the Pop Culture Association. It's PCA ACA, so I presented on the first 2 BioShock games, so very cool. It was hella nerve-wracking, but really neat. I feel like I sound like Chloe. hella this, hella that. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Cool.
Gaming even when you ain't gaming.
I know.
Charlotte?
Well, I played Life is Strange, of course, and Phil, if you think the decisions in Walking Dead are hard.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah?
It's very stressful.
Oh my gosh.
Duly noted.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So
I'm
good.
I'm stressed about it.
It's so uneven. Parts of it are so good.
Well, yeah, it's really good. It's just that unlike Walking Dead or any Telltale game I've played, it's none of the decisions have really good outcomes. So,
That's what makes them so heart-wrenching, yeah.
yeah, it's very, very stressful. I also played more Majora's Mask, which was weird for me too because I'd left it alone so long that when I picked it back up, I didn't remember what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking around waiting for my little, I forget what it's called, the little Tinkerbell thing to tell me something. And it
Would you
didn't.
think it'd be interesting on a video game to have a previously in Majora's Mask when you reload after a certain amount?
Right.
Right, yeah, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm doing now. I'm just
I
walking.
want it to be just like the voiceover from Lost, though.
Yeah.
Previously,
That
or
would
whatever
be
you were
great.
playing. Yeah.
I was totally lost. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, I figured it out like an hour later, but and then I played through this really strange game called The Others. It was on the Kindle, and I thought it was going to be super cool because it sort of set up like this toy making company has suddenly gone away, and it's all creepy and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then it was really weird because it was sort of a cross between a point and click adventure, which I really like, and a hidden objects thing, which I really don't like.
Mhm.
So to get certain pieces to carry on with the point and click, you had to do these stupid hidden object things, which make me angry. And then it turned into some weird like science fiction thing. So I don't know what I think about that game, but
It kind of sounds like. Have you ever played Siberia? It's
no,
a
I wanted to because you mentioned it before, but
Yeah, it sounds like Siberia because you play. There's a female protagonist, and you play this game because you are going to save this automaton factory.
mhm.
So there's lots of weird, creepy automatons around, and there's lots of searching. So it's not, hidden object, but definitely a whole lot of fun. You should check it out. Yeah, you should check it out.
I actually own it on Steam. I just haven't done it yet. So.
Oh, good grief.
Oh, games we own on Steam that we haven't played.
Games we own anywhere that we haven't played.
Right.
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
I feel like
Tell story
Xbox
of my
started
life.
the gold shit just to make us all feel guilty about downloading stuff we were never going to get to.
During a Steam sale, I've estimated that more than $40,000 were spent over at Ubisoft Montreal only.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure none of those games ever get played.
Oh my god.
But it's so comforting to have them. They're there.
Yes.
Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah, just in case things go
In
wrong.
10 years, one day you're going to have pneumonia or some shit, and you're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to play Siberia.
Right. I've been meaning to do that for 20 years.
It's time to do this thing. All right. Is it me?
Yes, it's you.
I played a lot of games this week, y'all. I think I played something every day, which I haven't done in a while, and I've been really busy, so I don't know how I did it, but I did.
Who needs sleep?
No.
Nobody, not me. I played Dying Light for a while until finally I threw it back into the ether because it's garbage. Fuck you, Techland. Stay off my zombies. I also played Life is Strange Episode 2 because this shit is going to be Game of the Year. I'm calling it now.
I agree. This is like whoa.
Despite the problems, people are going to be talking about this game for so long, and there's so much to say that it's going to live in possibly
God, and
infamy.
The
We'll see.
replayability, like the replayability in this kind of game is amazing. I think.
Yeah, it's a revolution, is what it is. I've been playing some White Knight, which is very frustrating, but so beautiful, and I really want to know what's going on. But I was streaming today, and at one point I finally said, I feel like anybody who's watching me, there was like 7 people, not very many, watching. I'm like, anybody who's in here right now either has a death fetish or they really like to see me fail, because I think I died in one part like 30 times in a row, just bam, 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 bam. I'd come back, I'd go into a room, I'd walk to the left, I would die. It was that bad. I played a little bit of Revolution 60, and I played approximately 30 little indie games made with Twine because I've been experimenting. Mom, Dad, I've been experimenting with Twine.
That's all right.
Yeah,
You're going to
really
need 12-step programs.
no, it's really fun. And of course, I played Destiny with Sam, aka the nights I save Sam's ass a lot.
Whatever. Are you kidding me? You are so full of it.
Look at my face. Look at my face right now.
You look
I'm
at
not
it.
full of it. You're full of it.
You're full of
Anyway, let's move on.
it. All right.
I really love this dynamic you have here, girls.
We love each other very much.
So now that we've talked about what we're playing, what about reading? Is anybody reading anything interesting this week? What about you, Phil?
Okay, so this game designer came to my desk early this week, and he says, Phil, I'm going to say a couple of words, and you're going to hate me. He says, "The Lies of Locke Lamora," which is the first novel of a series by author Scott Lynch, which is yet another fantasy novel about a thief in a city. But oh my
Nobody's done that
God.
before.
Yeah, it's really it's been updated to the goût du jour, what it feels like. It's set out in a fantasy versions of Venice. It is very Italian in terms of the feel, and while the book starts, you feel that they're going through another the chosen one approach. That's not where the book actually goes. And you follow a young thief that you think is going to become a mastermind, and you start the story when he's 5 years old, and then you go on and the book is not linear. It goes fast forward and backwards through story. It is completely and totally amazing, and on the Kindle it is beneath the I will think about it price.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So
I looked it up as soon as you started to
I
talk.
know. I'm looking at it right now.
it is amazing, and which
What's
is
it called
interesting because it'll tie in with
The Lies of
subject.
Locke Lamora.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it ties
great
in with what
title.
we're going to talk about because Scott Lynch is suffering from chronic depression, and he's spoken on different panels about it. It's not a theme in one of his books. It's not the theme of his book, but it's well, writers with depression. That's so original.
That never happens.
That never happens.
Cool. That one looks interesting. See, now I'm gonna have to buy this.
You will love it. You will love it, and you will hate it. So you can already insult me. I'll understand.
All right. That sounds good. Well, I can talk about what I'm reading. And I can't remember which number this is. She's been on the show before, and she talked to us when her first book came out, or her first Lexi Cooper book is 4. So Krista Charter's fourth Lexi Cooper mystery book came out this week. And for those that don't remember, you can always go back and listen to our interview with Krista. She worked in the industry for a long time. She was Trixie 360 at Microsoft, and started Gamer Chicks and a bunch of other stuff. And so now she's been an author for a while. She wrote a book called the Nanny book. I can't remember what it was called now because my brain's dead. And I've had too much pink tea, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And but this is her 4th mystery with the protagonist who's a community manager at a thinly veiled Microsoft-like company, where in every book somebody dies in some gruesome way. And Glitched is the 4th book, the one I'm reading now, which is really funny because it basically takes place at PAX. And instead of dick wolves, they've got rape sharks.
Nice.
And there's a murder. Guess who gets murdered? Not gonna tell you. So and it made me giggle a lot. So I'm having fun. It's only been out like 2 days, and I'm halfway through it. In addition to all the other work-related stuff I gotta read. So the first night is like I ended up. So I'm gonna read like a couple chapters, and then. Ended up staying up way later than I meant to, but yeah, that's what I'm reading. That's games related anyway.
Yeah, I don't have any games related. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, was it supposed to be games related? I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be.
No, games related, geek related, whatever kind of. But you don't want to hear the other stuff I'm reading. It's like dry ass rhetorical theory. So.
Sam, I have a master's degree in environmental microbiology. I will not tell you about that.
Duly noted.
I'm reading. I'm still reading "Let the Right One In."
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Which I really love. I read that. I started really digging into it when I was on the flight to New Orleans. And so thanks to Jen Justice, who was not here, boo, she introduced me to, she's performing, okay, that's acceptable. So she introduced me to the blog Hyperbole and a Half, and I downloaded her book, and oh my God,
It's
it's
so
so
good.
funny.
It's so good. Oh,
My
speaking of
favorite,
people suffering with
Yep.
major depression.
I've read her
she has
prose,
huge
which is awesome.
depression. Which is fantastic. And my favorite story was when the goose got stuck in her kitchen, which was
Yeah.
hilarious. I don't know
Yes,
if
that was pretty funny.
she had to like shove it into her car under a blanket and then drive it back to the pond. And it's like a murderous, crazy goose. And it was so ridiculous. I loved it. But yes, she did have to, I think she had a couple of chapters on dealing with depression and how
Yeah.
I think it was the thing that got her outed for her depression was the kernel of corn under the
Underneath
fridge,
the fridge.
Yeah, under the fridge.
It
which
made her
I thought
laugh
was
and laugh and laugh and laugh, yeah.
yeah, which I thought was such a real moment, because that kind of is how you snap out of it sometimes. Like the most absurd, unfunny thing, it can just make you laugh hysterically, and it kind of shatters that fog that you can get stuck in. But also, Phil, for some reason when I met you at PAX East and I heard you speak at the panel, I did not catch your accent at all, but I totally hear it right now.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
definitely. Oh, did we drop him? Is he not there?
You mocked his accent, and now he's gone.
No. Uh-oh. Hold on. Let's get him back.
Yeah,
What
that's
is
good.
I just saw he dropped off on the bar
He
here.
was like, I ain't talking to these Markants about my accent.
All right, hold on.
I didn't make fun of the Texan for her accent. That's what he's saying.
He's like,
Right?
"Fuck." I mean, we were all
totally-
thinking it, but you didn't have to say it.
No, I
Jamie,
totally hear it now.
I'm trying.
Poor Phil.
We'll get him back.
Well, you can keep talking about what you're reading, so.
Well, that was pretty much everything that I've been reading lately. I haven't really been doing too much.
Mhm.
I also have a conference this week. I'm leaving Wednesday to go to Minneapolis for the big yearly writers conference, AWP. So I've been catching up on all the literary magazines I should have been reading for the past like 6 months that have been sitting around that I have subscriptions to that I haven't read, so that I can sound really smart when I go and talk to people I admire and love. I'm doing a panel this week on microaggressions in the workshop.
Nice.
That's going to be fun. I'm going to hand out pacifiers and hankies for white tears.
You are horrible.
I know, I'm the worst. So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to catch up on all of my reading that I haven't been able to do. Man, I've read a lot of poetry, some really mind-blowing poetry. It's been nice to just relax and read a little bit, just pretty language.
Mhm. Cool.
That's pretty much it.
What about you, Charlotte? You're always reading something fun.
I'm still reading I Am Charlotte Simmons. It was really interesting today because the news and the book collided. Because one of the narratives in I Am Charlotte Simmons is of the dumb jock who's getting his work done for him. And I ended up watching the NCAA news conference today because they were talking about Indiana in part.
Yeah.
But they also went down this whole thing about college students and the time spent in playing basketball versus the time spent in, being a student, which I thought was really interesting. So I think it's really interesting that a lot of the, I don't even know, I have to look it up, but this book is not that new, but a lot of the issues are still so relevant.
I looked it up before. It was something like 2003.
Yeah, it's not very new. I just looked up I Am Charlotte Hyde and
Yes, you are.
not that helpful. 2005? I thought it was older than that because he writes he's been around for a while, but still. I just thought it was interesting because he's stereotyping a lot of the characters. The characters are very stereotypical. The dumb jock, the asshole rich guy. But they talked a lot about that in the conference today when they weren't talking about Indiana. So that's what I'm reading. And Latour, if y'all care about that.
Of course we do.
It has nothing to do with games. So,
The
or maybe
tool
it
is
does,
a
but not
game.
the way I'm reading it at the moment.
Have we been in contact with Phil?
Yes.
Yeah. He thinks that Google Canada went kablooey, so
His exact
while
words, kablooey.
while we try to get reconnected, we can keep going through our other fun stuff, and our especially fun thing, which is getting very sad for me.
Aww.
I know. Is what are we drinking? And while Phil tries to get reconnected, I will go ahead and tell you what I'm drinking.
I don't want to tell you guys because you made sad noises about my beer, but you go ahead.
Other people might like it though.
I was drinking and still drinking pink tea is what is what it gets called in my house.
What is
It
it?
is actually it is passion. It's a herbal tea, passion tea, lemonade. So it's passion tea, and then you mix like half passion tea, half lemonade, with raspberry vodka.
Mm,
Yeah,
that sounds good.
it is very good.
Man, that pink tea is the best mixer.
Pink tea is
Mm.
like the weirdest. It's like the weirdest thing.
Hey, Phil.
We were mixing it with orange vodka. Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you.
Yay!
We've
I'm
been
gonna have to
mixing
try it.
Apparently, so what you need to understand is if I don't apologize every 5 minutes, Google cuts me off. That's the Canadian content.
Shit, man, you guys need to make your ritual sacrifices up there in the Great Frozen North.
That's why I'll go and eat a poutine after that.
Oh, see.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's
We're
fine.
talking now about what we're drinking.
Right, which is
I
important.
heard something about pink tea, which is already. I'll look it up.
Well,
It sounds good to me. I'm gonna
It's a
get
thing
some.
that my daughter calls it. But what it is it's an herbal tea, passion tea. It's half passion tea, half lemonade, which makes it very kind of kid friendly, of course, because it's not very sweet, so it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. But then when it goes in Mama's glass, Mama
Mhm.
pours vodka in it, which so I have pink tea with raspberry vodka tonight.
Nice.
So it gets the kid-friendly name, and then I, throw lots of booze in it and call it a day. What are you drinking, Phil? Are you drinking anything? Did we forget to tell you that you have to drink on this podcast?
I actually have a glass of white wine. It's from the Alsace region. It's a Pinot Blanc, so basically white Pinot,
Just
and it is delightful. It's a dry wine. Don't ask me the name. I didn't read the label properly when Caroline just poured it for me, but it's awesome.
Good.
Thank you very
Well,
much, dear.
You're Canadian, so of course you'd be drinking something, right?
Okay.
So Ashley brings up his accent. You're like, fuck Canada.
I am from Michigan, and I'm from Michigan. I'm from Detroit, and and I grew up spending tons and tons of time across the border. So
Here's the thing. It's not because
Looks like
Canadians.
what, you have a black friend so you can make fun of him?
what?
That's right. I know a Canadian, so I can drink like one. But
Yeah, exactly.
that's just because you could cross over when you were 18 and you could drink.
Oh yeah. And Canadian beer always had a higher alcohol content.
Yeah, about
I drink
1%.
Canadian beer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that.
Everybody saddle up. We're going to
Right?
Canada.
So, but you know the British joke? What the difference between American beer and making love in a canoe?
No.
What's that?
They're both fucking close to water.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. But only if
I'm
you
all
drink
nostalgic
crappy beer.
for-
And speaking of, I don't drink crappy beer because I'm a
I
grown
think you do.
woman. I think that you're
Grown-ass
fucking
woman.
wrong. And you're
So it's
protected.
craft beer because I can't see the label on this, and they probably can't.
This is a Leinenkugel's Creamy Dark.
Oh, I can't pronounce that. That looks awesome.
It is delicious. It's an American dark lager. It's not my very favorite beer or anything, but it's in I would say my top 15.
There's a lot of wonderful craft beers in the States, so.
Yes. Now, if you're talking about like piss water from a keg, yeah, it's fucking disgusting. Why would anyone subject themselves to that if they didn't, like hate themselves?
I
But
live in the hipster capital of Montreal, so there's PBR everywhere. So
Oh my God!
Oh
Oh,
I'm
I
my
so
cannot
God.
sorry.
understand that.
It's an offense to humanity.
I know.
So I'm drinking PBR. No, I'm just kidding.
Awkward.
It's so good. Yum.
Like room temperature PBR, right?
Right, yeah. Ew. No, I'm not drinking PBR, for the record.
What are you
Although,
drinking?
what I am drinking is probably not much better. But I'm drinking wine and sparkling water. I'm so good.
Yeah, you're right. That's not much better.
It's
I'm
okay.
drinking air.
Oh.
So there we
No,
go.
no.
I,
What about last night?
I
Yeah.
had a voodoo brew and that hurt.
What's a voodoo brew?
What was voodoo brew, Sam? Was it
It was like 3 kinds of rum.
3 kinds of rum and topped off with 151? But I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
don't
It
drink
was
very much.
exquisite.
So were you on the floor, like face down or face up?
Was I on the floor last night? No, I wasn't on the floor. I kind of just wobbled around Bourbon Street and tried to catch some beads.
But admit you, Ashley. I mean, 1 ounce of alcohol, you're
Actual
basically
size.
20% booze.
Yeah, this is actual size. This is
That's
actually.
probably why I don't
know, I've
feel
met her.
well. I'm like, my stomach hurts. It's so sore. So I'm not drinking anything. I'm just sitting here staring at the screen, and I just realized. So my boyfriend's sitting next to me, and I muted myself for a second. I'm like, I just realized that I giggle the whole time during this podcast. Like I spend the majority of this time giggling at everybody. Like,
Usual
One
people.
good reason for that, Ashley. There's one good reason.
We
yeah,
were funny.
Hilarious.
you are funny. Everybody's funny. My goodness. Anyway,
I think Phil fits right in.
he
Yeah.
Thank
does.
you very much. I feel
Absolutely.
one of the girls. I'll woman up for you.
Oh shit! Now we have to kill him though. It was fun while it lasted.
But while we're killing them, we can drink that beer that's got more alcohol in it.
Oh,
There you go.
True.
yep.
That's true.
All right.
We're brewing one close to here that's called. It basically translates to the end of the world, and it's 9%. Is it volume or like weight over volume? And it really, you take one of it and then you just fall unconscious.
Wow. That's a
Oh,
lot of
man.
alcohol.
See, I like Canadian beer a lot because Alicia always, because we have one store here where you can like mix and match your tastes.
Mm-hmm.
So constantly, because we have so many craft beers, and I'm constantly trying different ones. And then
She don't
that's
like anything.
That's not true. There are lots of beers that I don't like, but I'll come home and I'll
Make
try
a
them
sign and
all.
hold it. It says it's true.
And so, but she swears I don't like beer because I don't like a lot of the ones that I pick up at the store. But I don't like hoppy beer
Mm-hmm.
Me
because
either.
hoppy beer is the new fad. So they throw 50 pounds of fucking hops in every glass and say it's good beer. No, it's not at that point.
Some
Not.
people like to taste their feet, so.
There you go. I want good beer. Don't want hops in a glass. So.
Yep.
I had double chocolate porter, I think, in New York a few years ago, and I want to have this again.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I like a good porter.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to news. What you got, Alicia?
Well, I have a couple of things. If you read our site, as you should, as a good human being, you are familiar with these things. Just a couple of little things, and I'll do it really quickly. Anita Sarkeesian has released a new video this week, and she is on a new series now in which she's talking about positive portrayals of female characters instead of tropes versus women. So it's kind of the opposite. Supposed to go more in depth, maybe a little shaky at the beginning. Hopefully, the next episode we'll see a little bit more depth out of that, but we'll see as it develops. Second thing this week, huge Twitter kerfluffle as somebody found a transphobic joke in the game Pillars of Eternity, which was a Kickstarter-backed game, Kickstarter funded, and for the sum of $500, backers could have a memorial placed in the game with their name, a name they chose, and a message. And this particular message was about a man who had slept with what he thought was a woman, but it was really a man, because ha ha ha, that's the worst thing that can happen to you ever. And then he killed himself. Understandably, people were a little upset about this, and people began talking about it, which there had been a little bit of a ceasefire and major hostilities this week with Gamergate. It flared up again in a huge way. We wrote about it. Lots of people wrote about it. Lots of people were involved. It was a big deal. Obsidian says they're considering whether or not they're going to change the game, but first they're going to talk to their backers, which is responsible. But let this be a lesson. Vet your shit if you're letting people kickstart things into your game. Vet your shit.
You should still edit whatever people put in. I mean,
right? And there was speculation that probably they had some filters to catch things like obvious slurs. But this was, I hate to call it subtle. It's not subtle. It was a little more subtle than something like, you faggot, which would be caught by a filter. This wouldn't necessarily have been caught by a filter, which is why you need real, actual human beings in there reading things before you put them into your game. Once again, the world needs copy editors. And then Sam wanted to say something about some amoebas. I don't know.
Oh, I'm a microbiologist. I want to know about that.
Not those kind of amoebas.
Oh,
she's being a
Sorry.
smart.
I am disappointed.
I know. I am too. I would be way more interested in amoebas. I
have fallen prey 4 times now to collectibles in games, and I blame this on the fact that I have a young child. I was watching Nintendo Direct yesterday, and I had kind of sworn off of buying more games collectibles, even though I did just buy like 3 amoebas. Damn you! 3 amiibo for Mario Party 10. I had kind of sworn off because I was like, well, but they don't really add anything to the game. They unlock more mini games, but there's already so many mini games there. Blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna do it. I'm done with it. And then yesterday in Nintendo Direct, they announced that for the new game Yoshi's Woolly World, they're going to have actual yarn Yoshi amiibo. And I lost my shit. It comes in 3 colors, so now I gotta buy all 3 colors. So yeah, because it puts together my 2 favorite things: yarn and video games, and I'm there. So I'm back on the amiibo train.
Awesome. I still don't know what those are. And don't get into it. I'll ask my son.
Okay. There we go. All right. Was that it for news?
That's all
Smart
that I
Aleck
have for
Ocean.
news.
The news.
That's the news.
So now we get to why Phil is actually here.
Oh, run.
He's like, I'm here. Yay.
Oh shit, what have I done?
And I did not ask Ashley this earlier, and I know she's not feeling horribly well, but I'm going to ask her now. Ashley, do you want to introduce Phil? Because we have notes. But
wait, we didn't even introduce Phil yet? What the fuck are we doing?
We did.
I mean, my real name is Luis, but I discovered some new hormones, and it changed my life.
He's actually a carrot.
Yeah.
Oh my god, maybe he's an amoeba.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure. So I know your title is you're a scriptwriter for Ubisoft Montreal. That's correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I met Phil at PAX East earlier this month. He was on a panel with Brian LaBerge, and it was this panel focused on anxiety and depression in gamers, and which I found to be really amazing. And I ran to that was the first panel I went to at PAX East. I ran right to it.
Wow.
Because I am I've been very open about my own anxiety disorder on Not Your Mama's Gamer, and mental illness is something I'm very interested in and very interested in talking about and making a conversation happen, because that's how we get to solutions, and this is how we help people. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add, Phil, or?
Oh, well, you've got 42 years worth of life, so I could go anywhere, so we probably could. So let's just say that I have been working over at Ubisoft for 2 years now, and before that, if I can really be succinct about my life, is I used to be a pharmaceutical QA manager, and I had a very nice career, but I suffered in my 30s. I suffered through 3 burnouts. Which were pretty bad. And I thought that changing jobs was the solution when it turned out that actually I was diagnosed as being type 2 bipolar. And it's when I understood that I basically started my, you could say, my journey into getting better, which eventually led to becoming a creative writer. So I won't add too much of it because we're probably going to have a nice, back and forth in the next 2 minutes or so. But it's been quite a journey, and I'm really happy to realize that that's what I was diagnosed back in 2009. It's really fun to realize that you can still change the way you live. You can still be happy and do awesome shit. When even though you might be diagnosed with something that you think will be the end of your life.
Right. It's not a death
Right.
sentence.
It is not. It's actually, and one of the tricks is to actually try to find the strength of that particular condition that would help you. For instance, for a lot of people, for a lot of creatives, being bipolar, especially when it's treated, can help you in creating more stuff while still maintaining a control on your darker aspects. So a lot of people, a lot of bipolars will tell you that they can generate more ideas in a day that people can generate in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. So yeah.
I totally see that.
So it's not a diagnosis; it's your superpower.
It is my superpower combined with my super weakness.
I'm definitely a big advocate of writing and creating to help you. I mean, it just wrestle with anything in your life. It's such a good outlet. It can be such good therapy, and sometimes it's a good way to release something, even if nobody else ever sees it. Just to write it down, to acknowledge that it's real, and then to actually have the physical process of closing that file or pushing that piece of paper away. Say, I'm done with that, and it can help.
In my particular experience, I wanted to share with people whatever I went through. Not just the mental illness part, but my creative writings and my shift from a science-based career to a creative-based career. So I started blogging back in 2007. And one of the reasons I blogged about role-playing games and being a game master. The main reason being that I knew about that. I'd done it for about 30 years, and I also wanted to become a better English writer because it's not my first language. I do not have an English degree. I went to an English college, but I still struggle finding the proper vocabulary. Grammar is an issue for me.
So do we. We all struggle.
I struggle too.
We're on the struggle bus.
Yes. So I wrote, I think at last count, I wrote 400 blog posts, and since 2007, most of them were written in the first 4 years, and that got me noticed by the industry, and from there on, I eventually ended up at Ubisoft. Like, there's no fast forward in that story, but yeah.
Living the dream, man.
Yes,
From
I am.
working at your house to
So-
working at a major studio. Wow.
I want to ask you, for people that are listening who might not know what a scriptwriter is or does, can you elaborate on that?
All right. So a game, be it a AAA game or a smaller game, has a certain number of writers on it. They have different names for the positions, from narrative director to lead writer to script writer, but they ultimately all do the same thing: is that whatever is being written that gamers will see or hear, or that is written to build up to that particular product, is done by script writers. So the storyboarding, the creation of characters, the profiles of characters, the menus of a game, the dialogues, the stories, the plots, the side missions, everything is written by script writers or their variously named bosses. So, for example, if you've ever played any of the Assassin's Creed games, I've written what we in the industry call barks, which is what the NPC that are unnamed will what they talk about. Will say if your character walks around in the city and you bump into someone and they go, hey, watch out. So I'll rewrite this. The what's the expression? Now legendary. I got an arrow in the knee.
Yeah.
I used to be an adventurer like you until I took an arrow in the knee.
That's
And
a
nobody,
great example.
I want to know. I want to find the person who wrote that and just say thanks.
Actually, it's a funny thing. The reason why we know about it is that Bethesda basically cut down in their cinematics and voiceover budget for budgetary reasons. Almost all decisions in games are based on that, and they ended up with a lot less barks that the game was supposed to have. So the same barks kept playing again and again and again and again and again. But this has became a thing because now in our games, there's a category where guards will tell players about their stories of their lives, and that category is called Arrow to the Knee Story.
Awesome. Oh my god! That's the best thing I've heard all day.
So I've written
I'm gonna
lines.
put that in the show notes. It's so good.
So I remember because in the last Assassin's Creed's Rogue, I wrote lines where soldiers would meet each other, like friends would meet each other, or enemies would meet each other, and sometimes you would look over and a allied soldier would see a dead allied soldier, and I wrote lines like, "Oh, Jim, you won't mind if I take your boots, right?" and stuff like that.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It is great though, because.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Does that mean that I can start flirting your wife? Stuff like that.
I mean, but it really helps to add to the richness of a world to have those things. And I understand it costs money and there's voiceovers and yeah, but that's what makes the difference between a game that's good, but kind of mediocre like Skyrim.
And but just so you know, so if we're talking about, I don't think I'll get into trouble with that, but if we're talking about a next-gen game, do you know how many lines of barks are in there on average?
No, tell us.
About 75,000.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So, and they're all written and they're all read by voice actors.
I would kick 10 puppies that were adorable to get my hands on a full script of a huge game.
Come to work with us.
Okay. I just want to study it. I want to study it. Let me look at it. I'll come. I'll sweep your floors.
I've printed out once a full script. I think it was Unity's full script right before the game came out, so we could write content on the project I was working on. And the thing was 450 pages long.
Oh my god.
And that weren't the barks. Those were just the main story and the side content.
I'm having a moment, guys.
Oh yeah. You want to read that script?
I do. I really do. For all the research projects. Please, someone send me. If anyone else is listening out there, please contact me. I will go to every conference in the world and talk about your script to academics who care. Please let me. I'll write books. It'll be great. That offer's open to you too, Phil. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt with my enthusiasm.
It's quite all right. It's very appreciated, and I'm skirting the edges of my NDA, so no.
I just think that what you guys do is so interesting because it's not like any other form of media, right? By entering into a world, into a game, you're changing that script already. The order in which you interact with people or that you do things or whatever, or even just having a long pause because you put the controller down because you had to go take a piss. You've changed the game.
Especially if the game has what we call systemic triggers, which means a game like, what's this super violent, Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
It's programmed in such a way that if you put the controller down, an event will trigger. That you'll be able to see an accident, you'll be able to see people fighting, that you won't be involved in it, but you can just basically take a break and watch a story unfold that is being basically randomly generated.
Yeah. And it's
That's a great
amazing.
Experience.
God, what a world we live in.
I like the future.
Me too, it's great. I don't even
too.
mind that I don't have a jetpack.
I
Yeah,
know.
well, but you still have all the knowledge of the world in your pocket and use it to talk about cats.
Yeah.
Cats are pretty funny. I don't know
Just
if you
amazing.
noticed. I mean, they're cats.
I mean,
Sometimes they're,
I
sometimes they're
can give you
grumpy.
top 10 reasons why cats are awesome, and number 4 will make you laugh.
You won't believe what these people talked about when they had a podcast. Um, I'm sorry.
There's
I
our
keep
tagline.
here's our track, and here's everywhere I'm involved, always to the left. So y'all get back on track. I'm gonna type and add some things to the show notes.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Ashley, you still got a couple questions, right?
Yes, I'm sure I do. Hold on, let me see here. Sorry. I swear I'm a professional. Yeah, why don't we just, okay, so I asked you this question at the panel when I stood up and the microphone scared the shit out of me because it's so loud. I'm going to ask it again, though, because I think it's...
I'm going to give you a different answer, you know that, right? Because
yes,
bipolar.
and that...
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. So what do you think about using games as a form of mental health therapy?
I made the panel about gamers not because gamers are more likely to develop depression over other types of people. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of depressed golfers. I would be, but games have this special ability to create rushes of endorphin that you will actually see in exercise, just maybe not as strong. Author Jane McGonigal basically wrote about, I don't know if you've ever seen one of her talks about those epic wins that you can get after basically rushing through a very hard section of a game or a very heart-wrenching section of a game and meeting this very epic end or very epic point in the game. And these kinds of things are completely therapeutic because they will send loads of chemicals in your brain that will make you feel better. So there's that. The fact that also while you're playing, there's a good chance that you're enjoying yourself or at least not feeling as sucky as you did before, and your mind is on other things, which can actually change. It can be a matter of life or death if you're having suicidal thoughts or you're actually planning your suicide, because while you're playing, you're actually thinking something else. If you can focus on the game, some people will just play a game on automatic. So it is to a certain degree an escapism, and a lot of people will say you shouldn't play because it won't help you deal with your depression because you're trying to escape. But I think people should escape part of the baddest parts of depression so that they can give themselves time to get better, because what heals depression on top of meds and exercise and being well surrounded is time. And games can grant this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too deep or full of bullshit?
No.
No.
No, not at all. That was awesome. And kind of piggybacking off of that, I kind of wanted to ask you. I wrote a post. My last post was about depictions of mentally ill characters in video games. I was just curious about what you thought of that. I was wondering if you, do you think there's positive or negative depictions of mental illness out there in video games? Do you think it has an effect on gamers with those mental illnesses as well?
The problem with mental health is that it's not very much understood by the average person. Okay, whatever media we're in, we're talking TV, books, or games. Like books will tend to explain things more in their exposition. So so what you'll find the examples of mental ill characters or mentally challenged characters in video games will often be caricatures.
Right.
There's a super psychotic, violent, usually male character in Grand Theft Auto 5, I think there's one of them, is overly represented. The bad guy in Far Cry 4 is this super charismatic, murder hobo psycho guy. So he's really nice, and then he gets really angry and he kills the guy beside you with his pen. But it's overly represented. I think.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
it's a shortcut. It's a trope, and it's an overused trope. Now, what would the challenge be? I'm trying to find examples of good characters. Um, Claire Danes' character in Homeland is a great depiction of bipolar disorder, and I'd love to see a character in a video game being basically based on her.
Yeah.
If you've played Borderlands 2, Dr. Tannis shows one of the few things where she's completely aware of the fact that she has Asperger's, and she's completely aware that she's got OCDs and whatnot, but she basically just jumps on it, and it powers the quest that she gives out. Yes, some of them are very
Yeah.
cliched, but it's still funny. So yes, you've got positive and negative depictions of it. I think they should be included. But and to a certain degree made fun of, to a certain degree used to drive a story, but not. I suggest people not to be lazy about it and
Yeah.
try to make a full character and make mental health part of the character and not its sole or main piece that defines it.
Thank you. Yes. That's
You
what I'm
know, this
talking
is
about.
because my background. We were talking about writing earlier. My background is in creative writing.
Mhm.
And it was one of those things that we always talked about. You know, every workshop, somebody would bring a story in which somebody was just crazy, and that
Mhm.
was the sole explanation for why they did things that were weird or violent or whatever. And we would always have to keep having the same conversation. And I feel like we need to teach everybody this. It's that there's no one brand of crazy. There's no
Sanity.
one mental illness. There's nothing that's the same. It's people who react in certain ways because they have certain triggers, and
Mhm.
all of those actions need to make sense. They need to come from something. In fiction, in any kind of created medium, there have to be connections and logic and a foundation for it, and it's not just, oh, we're going to do a bunch of wild shit now because we need a villain who's going to do a bunch of wild shit. It's just so tiresome that we can't do better.
Yeah.
We do
So
better.
I think that one of the ways you can do this is if when writers in both video games and in other media create characters, they should have what I call one line that defines them, so called reality filter, which is how they perceive reality through either a mental disease or an experience or something like that. And you could say, so if you've got a paranoid character or paranoid tendency character, you could basically say he's really outgoing, he's a happy-go-lucky, he's a type A personality, but he tends to take things very personally, and sometimes when he gets angry, he's downright paranoid. So that's actually richer than just going to, he's paranoid and he'll kill you when you talk against him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's if you don't mind, excuse me, if you don't mind, Ashley, if I jump in for just a second.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
And that's kind of one of the things that I was wanted to talk about, and I asked I put this very weird question in the show notes, right? About these quote unquote, because there's a study that proves everything, right? So studies that suggest that games contribute to depression in gamers, which of course we know that in most cases the opposite is true, but so people say, well, the big issue then is it a chicken or the egg situation? Is it that games can contribute to depression in gamers, or is it that gamers with certain kinds of mental illness might be more drawn to games? And I think that that's always an interesting question, right? Because when we talk about, and you brought up a good point, is that it's like the chemical changes that happen when we game, right? Endorphins and such. And we know that a lot of people will try to self-medicate. So if you know that playing games makes you feel a very specific way, then why not play more games, right? So, and then that also comes into that question of that very problematic thing that people call gaming addiction. I hate that phrase. So
let's talk about the Netflix addiction.
Although it is a real thing.
I hate the phrase though, because it makes it seem that it is games only that people can be addicted to, or these particular people can be addicted to, and it's not necessarily the game per se, but the feeling that they get from it. So anything that gives them that feeling might be the object of that addiction.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
People who have addictive personalities or are bound to get addicted to things will get addicted to different things, and games, be them games of chance or whatever kind of gaming, can be led to this. But without getting bogged down into a very interesting booze-fueled discussions on this, I think I probably would address your question on the fact that about so gaming is usually good for to help yourself as therapy for what we talked about earlier on. But one of the key things about getting about fighting therapy, no, actually that's the term of basically one of the key things about dealing with your own therapy, your own depression, yes, is that you need to fight it. You need to find ways to fight your own your own depression, so that you basically get over you eventually start controlling your dark thoughts. You eventually feel less bad about yourself, and you challenge yourself, and you start doing things. Some people will basically retreat to games and will use gaming as an excuse to say, well, I can't do anything else. I don't have the energy to do anything else. And this is, so if you're not using the games as, I have trouble explaining my ideas, so I'll use an example from my experience, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when I was put on sick leave for a severe depression about 7 years ago, I stayed at home, and my wife asked me to do at least 1 hour of housework at home to take care of, the meals and laundry and everything else, and that was a very fair request. So I basically added this in my routine, and I added the fact that I would do a Wii Fit routine, 30 minutes, and I had to walk to the grocery store. That was 20 minutes, going 20 minutes back. That was the strict minimum of what I could do, what I needed to do. That was my routine. And I used computer gaming. That's when I started actually playing Half-Life as a reward. I could play guilt-free. And that was the key word, guilt-free. I could play Half-Life for 90 minutes to 2 hours a day, provided that I had achieved my goals. And that actually, I think that's probably a good approach to personal therapy. Whereas I could have gone, I'm going to do the laundry later on, and play computers all day long, not go out, not do the Wii Fit, and then look at time when it's 4 o'clock, oh shit, and then basically botch the laundry and do something horrible for dinner. So, which probably would have been, well, then the games became an excuse and basically fueled my depression.
Yeah.
So that's probably how the way I lived it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of balance is difficult for a lot of people, regardless of what you're dealing with. But I also agree with what Sam says. You can replace, well, I could sit here and play video games all day with, well, I'm going to watch 10 episodes of this show because that's totally healthy.
Totally.
And
I mean,
there's
let's
a
be
lot of
very
things.
clear. Sometimes when you're depressed, you need
Yeah.
a full day of wearing soft clothes and eating ice cream and watching a whole season of something.
Man, I fucking call that Saturday.
And that's fine.
I'm ready.
And sometimes, and to be completely honest, you can't start fighting a depression when you're at the deepest end of it. It's when you basically wake up one morning and you don't feel as bad as you usually do. That's the day you start taking your first step in fighting your depression, and then you will add a little bit of routine. This usually routine helps a lot, and then as you get better and better and better, you strengthen your routine and add more activities to it, and you reward yourself. Whatever way what you find to reward yourself, you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's really interesting because people kind of dismiss games, as this kind of throwaway thing, that serves no real purpose. But when you look at what games and gaming actually does to the brain, um, it's it's just kind of this fabulous thing. I mean,
It
because
does.
one of the things that I study, right, in my real life, not that games is in my real life, um, because games and these things is cognitive theory, and one of the things that I even focused on with my own child is the way that playing specific kinds of games forces your brain to rewire
Mm-hmm.
from the way that it is currently wired in order to be able to learn and master these games, right?
Totally.
So, I mean, and they've been using this kind of stuff not only with people with mental illness, but people with Alzheimer's, um, children with autism,
Mm-hmm.
just to kind of to help them get through some rough periods and start to, uh, I don't want to say heal, but
Adapt.
adapt. Thank you is a
I like
better
that.
word.
Yeah.
Adapt the brain to make things easier for them, and and so it really pisses me off. People are like, games, and I was like, no, games. Deal with this. This is really where you need to be. And my mother's 75, and I'm constantly forcing her to play games.
Is she
Mm.
really?
Yeah,
She
black
looks
don't crack,
great.
baby.
I,
So,
I I was blessed that I came up in a family of gamers before we knew what the term was.
hmm
My parents had a Pong machine at home
oh yeah,
in the 70s,
yeah.
and they played all those board games that were Monopoly was one of them, but they played Canista and they played Aggravation and all kinds of different games like that. That was awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, my parents didn't play much video games except when I was in my teens and my mother was trying to reach out to me. She would play arcade games with me. She would go to the arcade with me, knowing that I always wanted to go to the arcade. And she tried Miss Pac-Man and all those games that we played in the 80s, and it was fun. I mean, I know she was doing it for me,
hmm
but she still enjoyed it. She still talks about it now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I just piggybacking off of what Sam was saying. So Alex Lane, who is also a writer on this site, she on the site, meaning Not Your Mama's Gamer,
Hmm.
the vague site. Um, so there's this new game called Deep that is apparently it's for the Oculus Rift, and it actually is supposed to help with anxiety, which I
Mm.
thought was really interesting. So I'll link it in our chat here. But so basically, it's a way for people to learn and control their breathing. And it takes place in an underwater world where your breathing pattern actually translates to the rise and fall of the water, which is really interesting. And you would kind of think that an Oculus Rift might be really scary for maybe somebody who has anxieties, because it's kind of almost inescapable in some ways, where it's all around you. And I know a lot of horror games um, are big on the Oculus Rift because of that inescapable quality to it. But I thought this was really cool and really interesting, and just as a way to help, seeing games as a tool to help people with anxieties or depression or stress. Really, I
And
thought that was amazing.
that's where the indie part, the
Yeah.
indie designers are really making progress there. I've seen articles. I haven't played any of them, but we're what, like about 5 or 10 games that address either the creator's depression or ways of dealing with depression of the characters or yourself while you're
Yeah.
playing them. And this is great. Yeah, they're getting hit by the trolls, but I don't
Yeah.
care about that. I just the fact that those games were created is just the start of a very long, I think, trend and genre that we're going to see more and more.
Yeah.
Right. I do too. I'm looking forward to this
I'm
game coming out.
excited about it. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of potential there for a lot of different things, not just this. Um, I think it'll be great for education. Um, I, I don't want to get off topic. I'm not going to start on that. I'll talk all night.
You know, and I think about like you say, it's being looked at for anxiety, but I think about because it also in my previous life I was also an elementary school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about the potential for children who have poor impulse control, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what this can do, because a lot of times when kids have really poor impulse control, I mean, and I see them use this even now, is that they will give children with poor impulse control and are easily kind of distracted by or set off by loud noises, too much noise, too much going around them, but give them noise canceling headphones to wear in the classroom. But can you imagine having kind of a space where children can go into a quiet space and put on the Oculus Rift for 10 or 15 minutes and enter this kind of virtual space where they can kind of resync themselves before going back into the classroom? I mean, there's so much potential that we just kind of ignore because games are games and not something that should be taken seriously.
They might smell a research project. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, right?
But those are kind of research projects you can totally get into some countries that are not, and now I'm going to go cultural on all you guys that are not as obsessed with things that aren't serious, should not be played.
Right.
You see a lot of the states, but in Finland and the Scandinavian, in the Nordic states, you see so many of those projects being approached, and I mean, you've got universities over there that they'll invite you to do a master's degree in game design, and you can approach these things.
Finland, man, is like.
Finland is great. I was invited to a con on Finland, and they told me that the Finnish government would give me like 134 euros a day to go there.
Can we all go to Finland, Sam?
Can we go to Finland? Yeah. Absolutely. See, and it's interesting because Alicia and our kids go to this kind of crunchy granola magnet school or charter school, where they have to focus as much as they have to on things like testing, but they kind of start to try to figure out ways around making that the actual focus of stuff. So it's pretty interesting, and I think that I would love to not only do research in some other country, but do research even in the U.S. to prove to folks in the U.S. because I think that would be a hard thing to say. Okay, I did this research in Finland, now I'm going to bring it back to the U.S. But to do it in the U.S. and say, see, it does work in the U.S. Because Americans think that Americans are different from everybody else.
Americans need to settle the fuck down.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. Okay. Other questions for Phil?
I can come back if you ever want me to have me again on the show.
Okay.
I'll be more than happy.
Yes, I think that'd be great.
We'd love that. Yeah.
We would. We'd love that.
Can I be like a honoris causa girl?
No.
In honor. No, you don't want to. No. Well, I gotta have the chromosome.
But for my part, I would really like to hear more about bringing your son into your D&D game.
Yes, I'd love to talk about that at a future show. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have you come back and talk to us about kids in D&D games because like I said, we have a couple of really nerdy kids.
Nerdy.
You should. I don't know if Ashley shared it. I wrote a series of posts a few years ago where I used improvisational techniques to tell stories to my son, where we had interactive stories, and then I did it with my daughter, and it was among the best stories I've ever had with my children.
I do that too. I did it with my son, and now I have a little girl who's almost 2, and I do that too using some of the things that I've learned as a gamer and as a writer. And it's so much fun, and you involve them, and it makes things their own, and you don't have to stick to some of the problematic details of like traditional fairy tales. And
so
we can have a whole show on that.
It would be a pleasure to come back. Now I need to go. It's getting late. But I really hope to talk to you all soon.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight. And
Thank
we'll look
you.
forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. So now we have a chance to do our own. That's a great way to end with a comeback for Dungeons and Dragons. So, but now we have an opportunity to talk about any other things that we have. Do we have any good deals for broke ass gamers this week?
Well, Evil Within is $14, y'all.
Oh yeah, that's not a good deal.
Get it.
They should pay me $14.
Yeah. I don't see a lot else. I don't know. I mean, the Outlast is on the unbundle right now, which is a really good game.
Outlast is a really good game.
Oh
So I would
man, I
pick
want to
that
play
up.
that too.
Oh, well, I think you should pick it up then, because it's only like whatever the beat the minimum is, like $5 or $6
I was
for
gonna say
Outlast.
it was like
Good.
$5.58 when I looked at it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Let me make note of that. Child of Light is the free game for the Xbox One this month.
Really?
Which is-
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It just
Yeah.
started today or yesterday, so yeah, grab that.
Ah,
You
Mhm.
definitely don't want to miss that. It's a great game.
And then for Xbox 360, it's BioShock. No, it was BioShock. It was BioShock Infinite. Now, what was the new one?
I can't
I don't
remember.
remember. Terraria is one of them. I know because Jack was super excited because he's been wanting Terraria, and we didn't want to buy it because we're like, you have Minecraft, bro, but it's free, so he's gonna get it this month, and he's like, ah.
He's always
remember what-
just excited. Another thing for iOS gamers to talk about free games.
Yes. I downloaded. I'm excited.
The first episode of Telltale's Game of Thrones is free on iOS right now,
Oh.
as is. Oh, what was the other one? The first episode of Valiant Hearts. So apparently they've broken Valiant Hearts up into episodes on iOS. And the first episode is free right now in the App Store. So you got two free good games. It's like, yeah, bro, the first one's free to get you hooked so that you can get started with those. So those are some free games. And that doesn't get better than free for a deal for a broadcast
No.
gamer. No?
Nope. Unless it's $14 for the Evil Within. I mean, you gotta admit.
Yeah, no shit.
No. He's joking. Please don't buy that game.
Yes, I'm totally joking. Do not buy the
Don't buy
game.
that
It's not
game.
worth
Not for
$14.
It's a terrible
$14.
game.
Not for 14 cents. Wait, it'll be free soon through like Xbox Live and PlayStation.
When them
Network.
motherfuckers pay me, I might pick that game up.
So I'm not even
that.
using hard drive space for that.
I ain't wasting it. My own is already half full. I don't know what happened. I didn't even know there were that many games for the own.
There's not. I don't know what happened either.
I don't know. It's all the time. All the clips I've recorded of us playing ball in Destiny in the tower.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So that brings us to an end of episode 98. 98. Oh my God.
And
It's really hard for me to believe. You're not about to say something you're not supposed to say.
no.
are you?
I'm just gonna say that by the time you've listened to this, there may be big shit going down on the site, so you should probably go look.
That you can say.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that other thing.
That you can say. So we are.
Surprises, big things happening.
So we are definitely working up to episode 100, which is going to be a fucking blast, man. Not one to be missed at all. It's going to be exciting. So make sure you keep an eye out for that one, and episode 99 that's going to come before that one. And definitely by the time you're listening to this, there's going to be all kinds of cool shit that you need to check the site for. Which means that I won't sleep tonight. Thanks, Alicia.
I'm sorry I offered to help.
Yes, you did. So there's going to be fun stuff. There's going to be fun stuff coming. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at NYM Gamer, or as Alicia calls it, NIM Gamer.
Nim Gamer.
NIM Gamer. You can you can like us on Facebook. There's always our Tumblr, nimgamer.tumblr. There is our site, which you should be visiting every single day for news and daily posts
It's
at
so pretty now.
nimgamer.com. It is, and we did a site redesign since our last podcast. If you have not seen the site, get you there now because it's gorgeous. That's what Alicia and I spent our spring break doing. Was it our spring break or a kid's spring break?
I don't know. We did it at some point, and it took a long
We
time.
didn't sleep or eat or do anything else. So all kinds of fun stuff. Check it out. And I'm missing something I was going to say.
Words.
Words. I don't word well. I don't word well. So yeah, follow us on all those different social media outlets, and go to, please. I'm being bossy. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever whatever you use to download us and our podcast, and leave a review, a narrative review. Clicking the little stars is great, but just leave a sentence or two about, what things you think we do well, or you can even tell us what things we need to work on. We'd love to hear more from you on that. And you can always email us at nimgamer@gmail.com, and we welcome those emails. I think that covers everything. Sure, all the things.
We'll be back in 2 weeks if you missed anything.
If you missed anything, we'll be back in 2 weeks to tell you all this again. Or you can just go to the site, and all that information is there in various and assorted places in that beautiful new redesign. Check it out. Until next time, peoples. Thank you for joining us for episode 98, and we look forward to seeing you, hearing you hearing us.
Something's going to happen.
In episode 99. So until then, stay warm, stay dry, have a drink, and as always, game on.
Game on.